Hello, how are you doing? This episode is actually the episode we did before, the 10th episode, because when we do the cosmic, the compassionate economy episode, we extend it to another sub-episodes. Now we finished the sub-episodes, we're back to the original episodes of awakening. So this is the 10th episode of Arts of Relationship. The arts of relationship, it's not like a rationale. It's not like everything based on material, on the five senses, on the Euclidean love, Euclidean relationship, that reasoning, that order, that a human-made order, that geometrical of scarcity, a competition, the separation. Rather, it's a geometry of connection, resonance, harmony. It's a total different geometry. So let's talk about these two set of geometry of the relationship of human being to human being, human beings to trees, human beings to animals, to human beings to all conscious beings and to the cosmos. Let's start from the basics. Just you and me together. Let's ask a simple question. Why you? When the masks you wear for the world, the competent professional, the husband, the wife, the artist, the doctor, the lawyer, the politician, the wise seeker, or the teacher, professor, set that aside. Why you? When nobody is asking, when nobody is watching you. Who are you? Of course, you always say, what are you during this time? Who is the one asking? We always have that in mind. And to put our status, to put our labels, to give our narratives, our power, our position, to explain, to argue, to present who we are. Is that real you? That's why I want to see if we can take the masks we wear for the world, for the family, for the human beings, for all that we believe important to us. Who's asking? Let's question set. Rest. We can come back later. I don't know when, but we will. When we connect together to get into that question. What I say next one is Kung Fu. I always say Kung Fu, the general Kung Fu, reprogramming the connection code. Because the old OS is everything's a separation, everything is presentation, everything is power, everything is a scarcity, everything is you and me, everything is I'm powerful, I got it, you don't get it. If I lose, and then you win. If I win, you lose. Let's reprogram that code of connection. reprogram that connection from that linear geometry I was talking about before. From the straight line to A from A to B. I'm going to get there. I'm not successful. I'm going to be successful there. I'm not successful yet. I'm more successful. I get $2 billion, $3 billion. I become the president. I want to be president of the world, of the universe, not only the earth, but a galaxy. Is that what you want? This is what I need. You supply. This is my demand. We demonstrated in this canal, in that bay, in that Gulf, Hormuz, very, very clearly. This is what one. I get a 5, I get a 15. Everybody demand each other. Nothing goes through. Why? Because it's about me. That is the transaction code, what I call. The whispers. What I get from you. What do you owe me? How do you fit into my story? Is that all right? Let's inquire from within. When you enter this conversation, not a negotiation, but a simple conversation, simple relationship between two expressions of the same space as a humanity. Do you already know what you want from other person? What would happen if you enter into this space with nothing to gain? Have you thought of that? As a family relationship, as company relationship, as a person-to-person relationship, friends or foe. Nothing to gain. Just as the inner space of humanity. We are interconnected. It's about humanity. Can we sit down? This geometry of the outer space, the linear thinking, the reductionism, that what I want, what do you want, from A to B, that a straight line, never designed for the depth, but for superficial. The depth can we explore as a human being with wisdom? Are we capable to explore of that in depth? That inner geometry is for what? It's for the old OS operation, as we mentioned before. Because that's what we recognize. Are we stupid? No, we're not stupid. We're just stuck into that geometry. We are stuck into the outer space. We are stuck into that appearance. That's all it is. We need to get into deeper our mind. We always follow. Doesn't matter science, doesn't matter psychology, doesn't matter mathematics, doesn't matter what, education or entrepreneurship, we always follow. We meet the demands of the superficial. We never have that independent exploration of the inner space without being watched. Who watch you? Who ask you? Have you asked that? That system, of course, I said clearly many times, is based on the rationale of separation, the rationale of materialism, the rationale of resource, the rationale of scarcity, the rationale, dominance, power, control. Maybe that's another way. I call yin-yang. Within the yin, there's yang. Within the yang, there's yin. In America, we see Taurus, right? The Taurus is sort of like yin and yang moving. Also, we can say Tornado model of a relationship. A lot of people probably know that. Toroidal model of relationship. But similar to yin and yang. It's constantly moving, constantly changing, constant evolving. There's no set. There's no image. There's no labels can stand. The two images is not that you get this, I get this, but trying to touch a single point. No, it's not everybody get to try the same thing. Everybody get that so-called success. Everybody get the so-called resource. Everybody get the so-called power. That a single point. Instead, the whole thing is overlapping. The yin and yang is overlapping. Within the yin, there's a yang. Within the yang, there's a yin. Toroidal relationship is the same thing. It's circular of that torus relationship. Within each other, you have one without the other. You cannot have one without the other. That requires what? Togetherness. If both of us sit, you and me, for example, as audience, as speaker, or as speaker, as audience, doesn't matter. We sit in silence for a few minutes, not speaking, and it's just a feel how that felt. Doesn't matter where you are, look like, feel like. Okay, I'm not going to ask you what you feel like. You feel it's your space. It's my space. And between us, there's a common space. The question shift from what I'm getting to what is the quality of this field standing together. That's how it is. It's a field. It's not a you and me. It's the silence between us. It's not what we charged with expectations, rather relaxed to the presence, the pure presence. Curious or guided or guarded. I don't know. You tell me. You don't have to tell me. You just keep to yourself. Just inquire into yourself. When the code changes, the pressure on the individual points dissolves. You're no longer two separate. You and me, and you and the others are all the partners or foes, whatever, no longer separate selves, negotiating, contracting. We are totally two local or 3 or 4 or 5 local expressions in the same field of inner space of consciousness, learning to dance together. Don't you see that? I don't know. That's what I call deep dive, dissolving the dual mind, the duality of minds, but one mind, as Schrödinger explained. That is called reach. We can reach each other in that Toro, in that yin and yang resonance communion. When we want to do that, if we have the intent to do that, we must dismantle the two architecture. What is the architecture? The architects of loneliness, of alone. I do alone, you do alone, and we fight each other, we are competing with each other. But it's together in harmony. We must dismantle the image-based mind. That's two lovers. For example, Natalie and her husband, or Kathy and Toronto, or John with David, or David with Christina, or Glenn with whoever. We normally fall in love. Start with what? Are we falling in love with really the person from inner, external, inner, and all being? No. Most of us know, we know that we fall in love with the image. We project it into them. When that image, that static image, that perfect circle, that flawless square, the flawless sphere, the flawless human being alive perfectly, static, forever in our mind, in our psyche. But we hold that image. When that image inevitably move, reveal their own messy, the curved, broken, and we feel, we're betrayed. It's not really what you are. We're not really the person I loved. You love the image, you don't love the person. Don't you see that? I see that. I once fall in love before. And the people say, you just fooled me. People tell you that, haven't they? We cry as a girl. The guy say, you're not what I thought you were. Actually, the fact, the reality is much simpler and harder for us to hold, to absorb. They never the image, because you hold the image, then they were never the image you hold. You draw it, you blame them, not fitting inside your drawings, your pictures, your images, your labels, your beliefs, your emotions, your frames, right? Nobody betrayed you. You betrayed yourself because you never started with the person, in and out, physically being, mentally being, foul being, whatever, beyond the smells, beyond the senses, you never got into it. You see the image, oh, I like that. You like that. You love the visible, tangible through your five senses. Don't you say that? Okay, my inquiry. Okay, this inquiry you don't have to. I inquire myself. When I write this thing, all these things from my own inquiry. My conversation with AI, and then I inquire, and the AI inquire me, and we inquire each other. That's what it comes this article. And I always inquire myself, what is this? What is that? Give questions, and other people give questions. I want people give me questions. So I see not the solutions, not the decisions, not conclusions, but a continuous inquiry. Get deeper and deeper. That's all it is. So here is my inquiry. Think of a person you feel close to you. What image of them you carry? What image do you carry on those people, or close to people, or somebody really you think important to you? Can you? Would you? What would you have to let go of to see them as they are right now, not what they are imagined to be in your frame of mind, in your frame of thoughts, in your memories, in your attachments? What would you do? What do you see without that images? Think about it. See, inquire. You don't have to answer me. There's nothing to answer. So that's a shift. When I ask that question, that is the shift I call Euclidean love. Euclidean love, everybody knows that it's orderly, reasonable, the emotions, the right of, personality, all that. Is that real love? Or that just the based on material, based on tangible, based on senses love? Think about it. We move towards non-Euclidean love, where shortest distance, between 2 points, that straight line, it's gone. The line of demands into a yin-yang, into a torus, into a tornado mode of a relationship. It's power, it's connected, interconnected with each other. Within that, within him, that's a you. Within you, that's a me. Within me, that's a you. All curved path. That empathy, that shared space, the shared field, the shared presence. Sometimes cross each other, sometimes parallel with each other. So all curved relationship. Not separate stories. Can you do that? That's the shift. Let's see if we can get some sense out of it. And then from that point, can you imagine to recall a moment you felt completely seen? Completely seen, not judged, not fixed, not needed, just sing. What made that possible? So that's what I called from the transaction relationship to communion. That is the structural contractual. If I do this, you do this. If you do this, I do this. Is that our negotiation? Our talk? Most people, sometimes we talk, we think, oh, we give you compassion, win-win. Win-win. Still win. Covalent. Shared energy field, shared energy essence. Can we see that? Focused roles, expectations to performance. That's still in that focused roles, expectations. Can we go into another space from that linear geometry? It is the presence. It is discovery, both of us. It's unfolding, both. From the conflict of threat to the ego safety. Yeah, you are in charge of this, you're not safe to me, and you're going to be destroy me, and then you're going to be this, that. It doesn't matter what ism, the capitalism, Zionism, whatever, communism, or whatever ism, or socialism. Can we get out of that? Just pure of all the isms. Let's get into fundamental consciousness, the humanity, without an ego, without a so-called fractured, divided safety. Can we see, maybe, see the signal of misalignment in the field? Can we see the coherence? And we always look for the outcome, the satisfaction or disappointment. Can we see the expansion? Can we see we can together deepening, see together the inner space or space, even the outer space between us, that is the space of creation, vibration. Now comes with the inquiry or question. Can you name a relationship that feels transactional? Do you have? I don't know. You have plenty or you don't have any. You tell me. Or you tell yourself. Or name one also feels like communion. There's no. That is no transaction. Pure love. Without transaction. Without demands. Without want or needs. What is the difference in your body, in your mind, in your feel? You think of each other. It doesn't matter a child or a church or family or social, whatever, or stranger. That is the practice, the mirror of presence. This is not just active listening. It is sensory recalibration, the entire being of that holistic whole. So this is totally different setup, two different way to see things. Let's say you see your partner close to you, a friend, a mirror. Maintain the soft eye contact, not staring, not analyzing, just holding the gentle, open gaze. Inquire before the practice, what does your body do when you hold someone's gaze without speaking? You are both in silence. What do you feel? Does it want look away? When I say the subconscious, not response, does it want to look away or does it want to smile? That atmosphere want to smile. Not anybody. The total of that whole. Or want something, say something. Or notice without acting. See. Just observe. As we see, this may not be true, but I put it into different layers. When these 3 layers, that's when AI inquire me about it. And then I give 3 layers. From my personal experience. One is personality. Knowledge, their words, their story, their service. I hear you saying that you felt hurt. As from your point of view, from that person's point of view, if this is the entry point. Not a destination, but at the beginning, I see that way. When I hear your story, when I see your face, do you find yourself already forming a response? Some people do, some people I don't. I don't know. What would it be like to let that story land? Quietly land into, I don't know, into your heart, in your mind, into a space? You tell me, without any response ready. See what does it look like? Level 2, I call feeling. Feel it. Sense the vibration behind the words. Is there fear? Is there longing? Is there want? Is there joy? Some people we do, right? Or quiet relief. Do not name it. Don't give a label. With your mind, with your thoughts, feel it. With the whole field. Have you done that? Have you? Without using words, can you feel the difference between someone's surface, emotions, deeper feeling, or beneath that surface? You can practice with your friend. Let me share something. Then sit in silence until you feel that shift. Something you may be able to do. Or you don't have to do. But, it's just a fleeting mind. Okay, and then you can get into this essence. This is just still my words. You don't have to do anything, but you can try it. Just experience. That's just my experience into different layers. Look past the faces. Look that person past the faces. Look the person past the stories. Look the person past the masks that person wear. See the inner consciousness, not just the subconsciousness, not just the person's response, not just the person's contents of that person's consciousness. See beyond that, the same spark of awareness that lives in you, in the inner space. This is the moment of mirror. Stopped reflection of a person image. Start reflecting awareness, the total awareness of self, not awareness of him or him or him or him or she or whatever, or you, of an image, but awareness alone, just awareness, total awareness in that field, without attached to anyone. And then inquire, have you ever looked into someone's eyes, felt that you were seeing something, seeing someone, seeing something as a life that is eternal, not just the mind of the moment, but that eternal being? What did that do? What does that do to your mind of separation? Have you looked into that? I have plenty of times. Even when I was young, I remember when I was a driver, I met all kinds of people. I always do that. That was like 45 years ago. That is what I call attention to the whole. Realize that while the geometry of our personalities may clash, sometimes, personalities clash all the time. Squares versus circles, all kinds of things. Sharp angles versus smooth angles. Different spaces both inhabit is identical. But the inner space is identical because the outer space is geometry. Inner space, totally nothingness. But a lot of times we don't see the inner space. Let's see the geometry of the soul, the inner space. The circle of me, the circle of we are just two different perspectives of the same us. The inner space is totally shared, infinite. Do we see that? Most time we don't look into that. That's why we have this world as chaotic as we have right now. As daunting as we are, economically, and nationally, and politically, and religiously. Don't you see that? I've been in Christianity. I talked to synagogue. I had communication with Islam because I went to Islam school for 2 years in China. Of course, that's Cultural Revolution and started later, last half year. I did half year and I studied. Even though I stayed 2 years, I didn't study anything. I was a third grade, fourth grade. Of course, I was baptized when I was a child as Presbyterian and later as Baptist. So I've been to all kinds of religions. Everybody knows me as Buddhist. Am I? Or Taoist? Am I? What I see, I'm an ordinary human being. I'm an ordinary cosmic being. I'm also ordinary being, conscious being in this universe and beyond. So in the past, we spent many episodes discuss the great deals of past images, past personalities, past characters, like Lao Tzu, right? Who did the Tao, who spoke Tao that cannot be named. The ancient sages of I Ching also, who mapped the patterns of change. The Aristotle, who sought to categorize the knowledgeable. Plato, who saw the shadows on the cave wall and the light beyond. Max Planck understood that consciousness is the fundamental. Physics are derivatives. Albert Einstein, who dared to write down the beam of light, particles, and waves. Niels Bohr, who studied with Albert Einstein and especially Max Planck, got into this theory of quantum physics with the theory of yin and yang at the heart of the atom. Bruce Lee, who said all the time, pointed to the void, used the water. Gadamer, especially, everything's an illusion. It's the great emptiness, the great void. John Wheeler saw that participants' universe, that one electron, not mere observers. Observer and observe emerged. This image is sort of many times in the past served northern stars for me, for myself, for many people. They have guided us, inspired us, and shown us many possibilities. But let's inquire. The inquiries go like this. Who are the figures that have shaped your understanding of yourself and the world? What have they given you? What have they perhaps also limited you? Have limited you? That's important. That's what I see. They inspire me, absolutely. If I stuck with that image, if I stuck with the Buddha, if I stuck with Christianity, if I stuck with all these religions, all these superficial science or limited science, all stuck with limited past images who have insight, and then I'm stuck, right? In the art of relationship, and I see these images, doesn't matter how it inspired me, how they have exalted me, can become static maps. Maps are static, but the reality, the universe is moving, expanding fast. The galaxy is moving fast. Even the solar system is moving, take us around the galaxy 2,360 miles. That's what it says. Kilometers per second. It's dynamic. If we stay in the territory of a limitation, we're stuck. Don't you see? That's what I see. So go beyond. Leave the images alone. That's what I called the art of relationship, of yin-yang motion, that torus. That triple torus. Of course, that images that map they provided for navigation is useful at one point or another. But not its land, not its reality, not actuality. That was of the past. It may suppress our own wisdom, the own genuine emotions, the own genuine human messiness, or we try to maintain the image. Yeah, I know that I have messiness. I know I have some genuine anger, some, emotions. But that's a human being. Be a human being. Not just become an image, a static image. That's not a human being. It's not, you're not alive at all. And then that will become, if you go follow the image, that relationship becomes what? Performance. Called a performance of equanimity. Do you want that static image instead of the field authenticity? The authenticity has emotion, has that exchange. The relationship will change. Otherwise, it's static, totally gone. It's dead. No Buddha teaches us how to be statue, but taught us how to be aware, to be awakened. Awakening is not fixed. It's continuous unfolding. Just like David, our friend, told us, the implicate order unfolding. If we are in the view of John Wheeler, participatory universe, we might become obsessed with observation, the mechanical of observation, into quantum physical particle and see that electron. We forgot to feel, to have that really simple relationship with another. There's no relationship anymore because you are in the goggles of John Wheeler. Don't you see that? If they will view the world that way, we're no longer really inspired by Wheeler. Wheeler's inspiration is the insight, that profound insight. It's a pointer. It's not a destination. It's not just look for the finger. That's what we do a lot of times. Go beyond the finger, beyond the personality. Just sitting with a person across you. If I try to be water-like water, embody like water, that flow of the Bruce Lee, we may get into another image of the water flow, the stream of water. Water has no images. Lot of water, lot of water, lot of water, lot of water, lot of water. It takes shape, whatever it's in. If it is in the cup, it's a cup. It is in the pencil, it's a pencil. It's in the teacup, it's a teacup. It can be millions of images. The relationship is within the container, the circumstances. Whatever hold, it becomes that field. So be water, my friend. Be in that situation. Be flow. Be in flow. The flow state. Not the image, but the flow. Changing all the time. Let's say Wyoming always say, the universe, my heart is the universe. The unity of knowledge, of the action together is Wyoming's core. He's not pointing to the principle, but he's pointing to seamless whole of conscious being. That relationship is the wholeness, not something to achieve, not something to be successful at. So inquire, what images do you carry of yourself, of your closest relationship? Strong one, the wise one, the one you have together, the one who knows, the one who doesn't, the one calls you, the one maintains your image. Think about it. Think about it. 易经 teaches us what? The only constant and non-changing is the change. We try to hold ourselves, our relationship to fixed patterns. That's not Yi Jing. We want them to predictable, stable. That's nonsense. Yi Jing said clearly, offer not stability, not predictable, but wisdom, navigating ever-changing currents. We are the change. We devise the change. We participate in the change, not predictable, not static. The moment you name ourselves something, if I name myself as a sage, or as a warrior, or as a master, I lost everything. But that's why stop, name yourself. Stay away from the names, the labels, but a continuous exploration of Tao. That's what Tao is about. Not a master to follow, not something to achieve. When you name it, it's gone. The whole thing is gone. There's nothing to have without image, without shape. When you shape it, when you name it, when you give it image, the whole thing is destroyed. The Tao is no longer there. It's you, your interpretation, your experience, your image, your labels. It's static. Think about that. But see that mirror across you. What do you share? What does that person need or do not need in that sage wisdom, in that warrior, in that master intensity? Sit. Do not need anything. They don't need Lao Tzu. They don't need Buddha. They don't need Jiang Weile. They don't need Bruce Lee. They need your empty curiosity. They need a space created between. Not trying to be anyone. Be nothing. So that comes to the geometry of nobody. That's my original word. Nobody. I mentioned many, many times. When you push a relationship with nobody, that nobody of limited self, the localized point of that infinite expression, the architecture of connection changes fundamental base. From friction to flow. From friction existence to from the solid objects rub against each other to flow into each other, the torus, interconnected, inter-exchange, interdependent, totally connected. When you are nothing, there's nothing for other person's projection. There's nothing for the other person to be angered, for nothing to be expected, nothing to get hit. You become empty space that exists. So you can see, can you recall a time when something, anger, expectation passed through you without causing a reaction? Can you? See, what is that possible? Ask yourself. We can explore together that quantum entanglement of presence instead of me, you, him, the separate particles, separate beings. Can we recognize that non-locality connection? We are not communicating across a void. We are experiencing a ripple field within the same quantum field of inner space. That space without boundaries, without yourself, himself, herself, themselves, is all in a total wholeness of holographic self. That is exploration of the infinity. The quantum entanglement presence, that is what I call. Let's inquire. Have you ever felt a strong emotion from someone who was not even in the same room? What does that tell you about the boundaries of self? See that if you haven't. That infinite curiosity. Most relationships die because people think they know, or I know you. Friends, I know you. I know you. When you know somebody, the relationship is gone. Don't you see that? You all know the outer experience. Do you really know? But if we are nobody, looking at another infinite being, every moment is the first contact. That's the first relationship. It's the first face-to-face interaction. We're exploring the unknown of the microcosm of that universe. Happens to be wearing a human face. Can you see that? So that inquiry I come up with is, when was the last time you looked at someone you have known for years and years? Saw them as if this is first time you see them. Have you? What did you notice if you have that empty mind? So this come to our today's, because I might not finish this episode. I might divide it in 2 episodes. The last one I'm going to talk about is Hilbert and Albert Einstein. That synchronicity story. 2 minds in the great void of that quantum field. You know, I talked to guys many years, many times about Hilbert, Albert Einstein. Albert talked about his math in his speech, and he had some relationship with Hilbert, and then they corresponded with each other. Talk about this the theory of general relativity, that formula, that equation. But at that time, at the beginning, none of them know. But later, both of them arrived with same equation from different field. A lot of people say, "Oh, who copied who?" Nobody copied anybody. They thought, each person thought, I explore, I calculate, I work on my own. And that person thought, and he was alone, he calculate and he work on his own. But none of them realize there's a field, the great void of the field relationship between both of them. That is the profound example, one that illuminates what? The very essence of this episode, that relationship. That is the early 20th century, as we know. Two minds working the same problem, nature of gravity, the structure of space-time, the architecture of the cosmos, what we call the theory of general relativity. David Hilbert, the great mathematician, everybody talk about him, were racing towards the equation. Albert also, the quantum physicist, the physicist of light, the physicist of theory of relativities. Both of them racing towards the equation. Of course, alone. They never said they compete, but everybody else, said they race. No, they didn't. They did exchange with each other in notes and ideas. Even in essence, in relationship, through never set mirror of presence, we described it. November 1915, something extraordinary happened. So Hilbert submitted his paper containing correct field of the equation of theory of general relativity. Of course, the theory of general relativity came from what? From Albert Einstein. Einstein also submitted a paper later on the 25th. He arrived at the same equation. They come from the different starting point, different path, come together into that synchronicity. What do you think passed between them in the letters they exchanged? What was competition, or synchronization, or collaboration, or something else? You see, tell me. A lot of people believe the competition. I simply doubt it, because from the correspondence, from the letters, you see, there was never competition. There's only inquiry. There's only curiosity. There's only general kung fu that reprogram the mind, the body, that consciousness to dive deeper into that inquiry, into that mathematical expression of that theory of the cosmology. What happened in the void between them, in the field between them, in the quantum field of consciousness between them? Neither Hilbert nor Albert Einstein could have arrived at the same equation alone in the way they did without that field. That's what I see. The field was not Hilbert's mind alone. The field, not Albert Einstein's alone, exists in the space between them. We call the third mind, a geometric entity born of the interactions. That empty space, that quantum field, which I call. The equation that merged were not Hilbert's equation. No, I'm Albert Einstein's equation, as I see. They were the field equation. The field equation is expressed through two different windows of consciousness, of the unique consciousness of Albert Einstein, unique consciousness of David Hilbert. Can you imagine? Can you think of time when a question or insight merged in a conversation? That neither of you could have access alone. What did that feel? You, a friend or family, whatever member you have. Did you try to claim it? Or just did you let it belong to the cosmic field, belong to the consciousness field of the cosmos? That is what I call non-locality of discovery. Next time we continue this non-locality of discovery. Thank you.